All right, today we're going to be doing a U-joint on a four-wheel drive F250. This is a 2019. I don't know if it matters. It's got the 6.7 liter power stroke. For those of you who don't know, that is an engine that was designed in-house by Ford, but it is manufactured in Chihuahua, Mexico. So I've assembled the tools that I think I'm going to need here for the job. I think it's a T25, a little 8mm, 13/16, some snap ring pliers, a few grabby things, a dead blow hammer, something to collect the little pieces in, a wire brush, and this thing here. I don't have a 5 or 6 foot lever or pry bar, so that's my homemade version. But I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of different ways to do it, but that's how I'm going to do it. So that's what we got. This is the job. Let's get to it. All right. I didn't mention it, but obviously we're going to want this impact or something to take those bolts off. But yeah. And there's the 13/16 that I lied about, not 15/16, but it's pretty cool. You can pretty much do this whole thing with that size. All right, there we are. I'm gonna put that thing down there. Let's see if you guys still have a good angle. That's pretty good. Maybe a little higher. All right. So on this job, I'm going to be saving the hub because the hub seems pretty good to me. And I'm just not going to replace the hub that doesn't need it. So your job might be different. I don't know. I'm just going to try to make sure I got some space here on the caliper. And I'm going to use these zip ties because I'm going to hang the caliper up there out of the way. But like I said, what's nice on this is that this 13/16, I know I lied, it's not a 15/16. This 13/16 is the same size as the lugs. Boy, I wish I had a lift. But we can't all have a lift, can we? All right, loose enough to go to the clickety after this. Now, you may not prefer the gentle persuasion of a 2-foot bar, but I do. It helps to avoid busted knuckles, and I could probably get back here with the impact. I don't know, maybe. But here we are. I guess I thought I went further than I really did. And I did try to lean back on that a little bit so that the brakes wouldn't be squeezing the rotor. And I'll just get you up here out of the way. Make sure you use a pretty rugged zip tie for this. That ought to be out of the way enough. All right. Let's see how nice it was before. Did we get any help here? I don't know. Might take a little convincing. I definitely did mention this. Oh yeah, I see movement. Not bad. Nice. Definitely seen a lot worse. I mean, not bad for 6 New England winters, I'll say. Oh, yeah, there's a little grease there. That's why when you're doing this and you put these back, do yourself a favor and put a little grease here. You'll thank yourself later on. All right. I'm going to take this off. This is actually bolted here. I could probably get away with leaving it, but it's just going to be in the way. Our holder. Maybe some of you guys doing this will have a garage. I have one, but not one that this truck will fit in. Tell you what though, I sure like working on stuff in the fall better than in the summer or the winter. It's needed, this U-joint, for a little bit, and I know in the winter it'll come into play a lot more, but I kind of waited until we had weather that wasn't too hot and wasn't too cold. The mornings are cool. I'll probably take this sweater off pretty soon, but that's a good way to be if you're working on stuff. There it is. So yeah, I just do the whole front end, so I put the whole thing up on jack stands. It's just easier. You gotta, I'll probably wind up having to move the steering around on this. Yeah. Alright, this thing's next. And these little things can break off pretty easily, so keep that in mind. Might need a smaller little. Oh, no, that's enough. Still greasy in there, that's nice. So this seal looks like it was doing its job. This seal, alright. And now I'll take you in here. Ready to travel? Inside there is a snap ring, and that has to come out. So that's the next thing. And I really have struggled with this thing. I have wind up using a couple of picks and stuff, but I think if I had a bigger pair of snap ring pliers with the tips that face slightly outward, it would probably be a lot easier. But I'm gonna have to get in here, get real cozy with this thing. A flashlight might wind up coming into play, but we'll see if we can do it without it. Alright, so this thing really doesn't want to come out. So I've had to really try to convince it to come out. And it sucks. I don't know how else to say it. There's no sugarcoating it. And again, probably if I had like a slightly different, tool to get at this, it would go fine. So I highly recommend having a big heavy-duty pair of snap ring pliers for this, and you probably won't have to struggle like what you're witnessing here. Okay, so that was a lot of work. That was more work than it needed to be, but there it is. I mean, That's a pretty rugged snap ring snap ring. And these are kind of finesse pliers, so that's the cost of not having the right tool right there, my friends. But we do what we can with what we have. That's how it's always been. And now we can loosen this thing. Actually, you know what I'm going to do before I even get to that point? When I get this hub out, I'm going to zip tie it up. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to unbolt this, which is again that 8mm. And this is because I'm reusing it. If I wasn't reusing it, I'd take it out and do it that way. But I'm going to leave it connected because the plan is to reuse it. Into our bucket. And these are, again, the same 13/16 that I lied about in the beginning of the video. That is going to undo every big bolt on this thing. Did I get it enough to use something not as barbaric? Yes. All right. There's our little bucket of shame. All right. Now, that U-joint sometimes is in the way, but it generally, you just spin it a little bit like I just did to get it out of the way, and you're in business. Let's even work with that 2-footer. Now these nuts back up to the studs. I've had the studs come out. I just take the studs out if they come out. And then I clean those holes all up. Now, going down, maybe I can do it. I can't. All right. I'm going to have to turn the wheel so that I can get a better bite on this one. All right. Hopefully there's still audio, because I'm using my phone for this. When I turn the truck on, it grabs the phone's audio. Right? Yeah. There we are. That seems pretty positive. We can go back to our regular 1/2 inch. Oh yeah. Three down. I think that's all I'm going to get with that. But it was something. So let's hope it was enough. A cheater foot. Tell you what, man, I've done these on Dodges I've had in the past, and this is not the process. Now, if I was swapping this hub out, I'd have to get these studs out, but I'm not. So, there we are. I'm going to straighten the steering wheel out again to get this thing out. And this is where I'll have to use the lever arm to get that seal. Okay, so we got this thing straightened out. I'll give you a good look in here. The seal goes around. I have another seal in case this is bad, but I don't think it will be. This is what's bad. So now I'm going to use that big lever arm, and I'm going to brace it against here and try to push that out. Oh. All right, not totally easy, but not as bad as it could have been. And as you can see, that U-joint is no good. All right, and I'm going to wire brush this thing off a bit, and then I can't see in there. Let me see if I can get a light in there. I'll take the vacuum, and I'll put it in there, and I'll clean that all up. But you can see that that seal is doing its job, so I'm not going to mess with that either. All right, so I got this in the vise, and we're gonna, there's a couple of the rings, the retainer rings, we're gonna get those rings out of there, and then we're gonna try to get this U-joint out. All right, here we are. So the first thing I want to do is make sure that I have at least what appears to be the right U-joint. And it really doesn't look right. It looks much smaller in diameter. So womp womp. This will require a trip to the parts store, which has been my experience in the past, but I'm still going to try to remove this old one so that I have something to take to them. But now I'm more inclined to want to remove it in one piece. So So unfortunately, I'm just not that great with the camera, and I set this up so that I was pretty much in the way of the camera the whole time. So I'm going to fast forward through it, and I'll just tell you about what I did, which was I took those C-clips out, and then I used a ball joint press to push the U-joint out, or actually to push the fitting off of the U-joint, and then a hammer with a socket, to fit in between and pound the U-joint the rest of the way out. And I just did that 2 times, once to get the fitting off the end, and then to get the U-joint out of the fitting that remained in the vise. So sorry about the camera angle, but the install should be a better view. If you don't have a ball joint press, I have done this successfully before with a big C-clip, although it seems like it requires a lot more hammering, and I needed like a couple of sacrificial sockets. One that was in a bigger diameter to push the fitting off of the U-joint for the first one, and then smaller to fit inside to push the U-joint the rest of the way out, and then to push the U-joint out of the fitting that it's left in, because the first one you're taking the fitting off the U-joint, and then in the second one you're taking the U-joint off of the fitting. And we're there. All right, now we're going to take this turd to the parts store, and we're going to give him this thing, which couldn't even fit in the box, and be like, what were you thinking? So that's it for now. We'll be back. All right, I'm going to clean this out before I go. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to clean any dust and dirt from inside there. Because we want to have a nice clean hole when we put this back, and try to keep any grit from going back into that carrier unit. I think that'll be all right. Now today is Labor Day, so if anyone's wondering Why I'm wearing a Union shirt? It's because it's Labor Day. Alright. We've gone to the parts store and gotten what I'm pretty sure is the right U-joint this time by comparing the old one. Now we're gonna put that thing on the drive shaft. So we got our little C-clips. I'll just make sure this area is clean. I know I already wire brush, but hopefully these things will go on smoothly and easily. So I try to do this whole thing, I guess we'll call it vertically. So I'll get that in there, and I'll go that way, and then I get this started. And now we're started. Hopefully that won't fall out. Yeah. I think I'll just use a traditional C for this. Hopefully we got enough leverage here to make it happen. And I don't know if you can see that, but I'm just gonna try to squeeze that thing up in there. For those of you who don't have a press, I have a press, but we're not going to use it. We're just going to do this. I'm going to use a little piece of plate steel because this thing's just pissing me off. I think I'm actually going to use 2 little pieces of plate steel. Yeah, not yet. Holy shit. There we go. All right. Not enough throw. Okay, now we got something. Okay. It's actually a little bit more play than I'd like to see there. But I guess beggars can't be choosers. Same thing. Boy, I haven't really been talking my way through this thing. I get too focused on what I was doing. But I'll clean this off and we'll basically see if we can do this same trick again, but with this. We got that on there, and we'll put that back up there, and I'll start just by trying to squeeze with this one. And then as we get closer, now I don't know how you are, I keep all kinds of spare bits of steel laying around the vise because it seems like I always need them for this kind of shit. But just looking to get this started. And then we'll get a little more detail. Sorry, can't see that set up. And that looks like enough. Right there. And there is a little bit of up and down slop, or the ability for that, which concerns me. Usually these things are pretty tight. But I think we're going to make it. So I guess I'll see if the thing falls out in a few hundred miles or if it's going to be good to go. But that's this part of it. So time to go back in the truck. I think we got enough for these studs to grab. So I'll cut the zip tie. Okay, we're in. And we're just going to use these to press that thing back in. Or suck it back in, I guess. So I'm pretty happy. Like I think I mentioned before, man, I've done plenty of Dodge hubs, and it's much harder to get the hub out without damaging it, from my experience. With the Dodges. Maybe other guys know other tricks, but for me, it's been pretty tough. I'm going to be in the way here for a second. Just getting these things threaded on. Like I said, I got my union shirt on because today's Labor Day. And I know probably a lot of guys have a lot of experiences with work. Some are favorable and some aren't. And I'm not, everybody's got to live life through their own experience. But my experience in life was that I never worked in a union till I was like 30. And I'd never been able to ask questions about safety and feel like, I wasn't going to get in trouble or wasn't like a shit stir. Where, I mean, of course, the nature of the work that I do in substations is pretty dangerous. So I think maybe people are more interested in safety. I don't know, but I kind of attributed it to being in the union, which I hadn't been previously. And it was a much better environment. And I do good quality work. And I get paid better than I ever got paid being not in the union. And again, everybody has to live life through their own filter, but that's what my filter has been. So the unions, from my experience, I get to do a safer job, and I get to do a better job, and I get to get paid more. So that's my experience. So it's been pretty good, and I don't mind paying those dues. And I know that there's always, it's the same with any system, right? There's always people that use it for bad things, or people that are, being kept afloat because if they weren't in the union, they'd probably not have a job. Like, that stuff is true, for sure. But by and large, it's not, at least where I am, it's not the majority. It's very much the minority. Those bad situations. And mostly, people just get to be safer, earn more money, and do a good job at what they do. So, enough about that. But I figured, hey, today's Labor Day, so I got to talk about labor, right? I mean, I don't have to, but I chose to. So there you go. You get my little mind on it. But yeah, putting this thing all back together. And see how these bolts suck this thing right in tight. You like my little impact? That's my homemade impact. How many foot-pounds of torque is that? I don't know. I'm sure there's a spec. But not today. Tight is tight. All right. Let's see if we can get this thing back on with these not the right pliers. Definitely not. This is going to be a huge struggle. I can already tell. was the last time. So why wouldn't it be every time? Did I mention how nice it would be to have a lift? All right. That was a lot of work. We got a little sore spot here. We'll take a break. Take a break. Okay, taking a break. All right. I clean this off. Now remember, that grease on there, we like that and we want that. And I put a little extra grease in here to keep that greasy. There we go. And that's exactly where we want it. It goes together a lot easier and it comes apart. We're closing in on it. All right. I tried to cheat feet, and it's just not worth it. We're going to introduce a 17 millimeter here. Yeah, well, that's what happens. Try to take a shortcut, and you pay the price. I thought I could just take the whole caliper and get away with it, but I didn't get that thing spread enough, and it started coming apart, and I was just like, never mind, I'll just take it apart. Compress it just a little bit there. All right, and that's just a 1/4 inch, so we'll torque this thing when it gets down on the ground. But I think you've seen enough. Hopefully that's helpful if you're looking to do the job. U-joint.